the kid would be like, Dad, what's going on? Dad, is that a replicant?
Oh, boy.
He was like, Dad, is that the bad guy? And the dad would describe whatever was happening, too.
Oh! We have a very close to that. We are live now, just so you know.
Oh, we're doing it live.
So I guess many of us had this. So we are here. This is a Fireside Chat, Farpoint Toys.
Spoilers.
Spoilers will be involved in this chat.
It's backwards.
We are here again. Well, no, it's frontwards if you do it like this.
Okay.
We are here again with the 3/5 of the Scully clan, who are huge fans of the Blade Runner verse.
There we go.
So, George was kind enough to make us our own name plates, all of which say spoilers, because we don't want to be blamed.
That's right.
If any of you haven't seen this, but you're dying to watch us talk because whatever, and you get spoiled because there will be spoilers here. There will be spoilers. So Sharon was just telling us about her when she saw the movie. And there were people.
There was this father who brought a 7-year-old son, and he had 3 other siblings with him, and they were about 10 and 9 years old. And what happened was,
I want to kill myself already.
On every second, right from the beginning, it's when there's words basically describing what has happened in the recent events. The kid would ask his father, "Dad, what's happening? Dad." And it was as quick as that, and it would be like, and his dad would start to describe it.
So Dad is just enabling.
He's enabling this behavior.
And there was only 10 of us in the
theater. There was only 10 of us.
Oh!
And 7 of them were this. No, there's 5 of you, so. Well, there was 5 of them were them.
Yeah, there's 3 of us.
The 3 of you.
I hope you eventually set them on fire.
No. But what happened was, throughout, even towards the end of the movie, it ended with them being like, hey, Dad.
Is it over?
The only way it could have been better would have been to I don't know, son, let me Google it.
Yeah.
I could hear him. He'd be like, well, that's a replicant's being born and the bad guy. Dad's not the bad guy, that's the bad guy.
Oh, you're ruining it.
So our experience was not quite as bad. We did have, the theater wasn't too crowded.
Right.
We did have an older couple come and sit down in front of us, and the trailers had started and all that. And they came and sat down, and they were the loud talkers during the trailers. And she said, "So what is this movie about?" And he said, "Well, Harrison Ford's some kind of cop or something."
But his description was amazing. It was she was laughing because his description was like it was like yeah. So if you were watching our last video,
you kind of
these big sausage mitts pushed the wrong button and ended it. So
what
this
button
is.
Did you push?
I don't know.
Push it again.
I went to hit one of these. Maybe I hit the back button instead of that. It's so close to the back button. The switch around camera button is right near the back button. And
don't switch around so much.
All right. So anyway, the guy was describing to recap. We were talking about Sheridan talked about a kid who was with their parents watching Blade Runner, the new Blade Runner movie, and the kid just asked the dad questions throughout the entire movie, like, "Dad, are those the credits? Yes, are those the credits? Dad, is this a movie? Yes, it's a movie.
Dad, am I a replicant? Yes,
yes, you're a replicant." So then I was explaining that we had a couple sit in front of us, an older couple who probably haven't been to the movie since the first Blade Runner came out. That the husband was trying to describe what Blade Runner was to the wife in the grandest vagaries. Like Harrison Ford was a cop of some kind, which could be Witness.
And then the best part was about halfway, 3/4 of the way through the movie, the woman turned to her husband and said, "Harold, I'm having muscle spasms again," and got up and walked out of the theater.
Wow.
It's like Christmas Vacation.
He wants you to say great.
That's a good. That was very good.
Grace.
Mr. Calling.
You did. You should.
Baron on Facebook, Mr.
All right.
Calling.
So we are going to talk about Blade Runner, the Blade Runner verse,
yes.
the new Blade Runner.
Blade Runner in general, Blade Runner, the new one, Blade Runner stuff.
I'm sure we'll get into a bit of what Ridley Scott did right and probably has done wrong since. But anyway, let's talk about some smart sci-fi. Who wants to begin? Because this wasn't my idea.
It was my idea, so I guess I'll start.
All right.
So Blade Runner has been one of my favorite movies forever. I don't even necessarily know why. There's not any one specific thing. I can't say like, oh, that one scene is so good, or I love Harrison Ford and that's why I love it. It's just an awesome movie. Just in general. The vibe it's something that you hadn't really seen prior to that, really, in sci-fi. It was a lived-in kind of, and again, an alien kind of universe. That same Ridley Scott feeling. It was lived in. It had a history. It was a weird future. It was an imperfect future. And the movie was just awesome. And this is the sequel that none of us thought we wanted or needed. That's true.
All right, we can. I mean, I suppose everybody who is watching this, we don't need to recap our feelings about the original Blade Runner. We're all fans for different reasons, or for the same reason, probably. Right? I mean, let's go into why we like it, but you don't have to describe the movie. I'm assuming people have seen that movie. Let's go into that assumption.
No, fair enough. Fair enough.
So, we'll go like this.
I have to agree with Penelope. As it turns out, the original Blade Runner. I know you just said that, but and I would have to say also with 2049. By the way, have to say with 2049, it's future forward. It's not. We're not looking at a distant fantasy here. We're looking at science progressing forward, and again, it's humanity's ability to. How do we handle technology? How do we, as a species, cope with things that are just so, quite frankly, beyond us? It's just an interesting universe to play in.
One of my favorite things regarding the universe of Blade Runner is the questions that come with it. To follow up with what he had just said a second ago, I like the fact that there are various themes such as, religious themes, spiritual themes, and themes of what is life, and the question of what really makes a soul. And I think that that's a very important thing to question. And that's not something a lot of movies do.
Yeah, I think that's what attracted me as well. It was the, what is humanity? And, 35 years ago, when I was so much younger and doing so much of that kind of soul searching, it's like, what am I, it was the right time. What am I here for? What am I going to do with my life? What is all this? And then this movie comes along where the replicants are more human than humans, and humans are really inhuman. So it really caught me at that time.
I think, how do you pronounce this guy's last name? Villanueva.
I think Penelope says it best.
Yeah.
All right, so him.
Which is what he calls himself.
Ridley Scott raised all those questions, and I didn't know this when I was watching it as a kid, but now I realize it. The reason we consider this a smart sci-fi movie is because of the ambiguity.
Yeah.
He's ambiguous with it. He leaves us with the questions instead of hitting us over the head.
Absolutely.
And the new one follows suit.
Yes.
Which is why it's a worthy successor in my mind. Mm-hmm. I don't love the original Blade Runner as much as you guys do for the reasons you do. I do love it because it's very stylistic.
It is.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's slow.
It is.
It's slow, and I'm not always in the mood for slow. You know what I mean? Is smart sci-fi smart because he's letting us answer the questions? Is that smart, really? Or is he just doesn't have the answers?
Well, I think in any art, it comes down to a question of what the artist does and what the viewer or reader or participant brings to it as well. And the art happens somewhere in between. I mean, I could write a book and you could read it, and we might have different ideas, but we're heading the same direction. And this is where it really happens. So that's an interesting question. What was your question again?
Well, it was more of a statement saying that, Ridley Scott since hasn't kept up with that same intelligence, right? So was it intelligent because he wrote it? Or no, he didn't. Well, did he write the screenplay? I don't know who wrote the screenplay. I don't think so, actually. But anyway, the movie itself, let's just say that. I don't know if we should credit Ridley Scott with being this. I'm not going to say we, because I used to credit Ridley Scott with being like the father of smart sci-fi, modern at least. Sure. You know what I mean? I mean, really, George Rodden. Roddenberry was. But
You know what? That's a tough question.
well,
there.
as far as TV,
Oh,
I don't want to get
okay,
to it.
yeah.
As far as visual medium,
Yeah.
but I don't. Since he hasn't proved it to me since this movie, I'm like, well, and I went back and watched the movie, and I'm like, is it because I'm asking myself all these questions, not because he told me anything intelligent? Maybe the movie's so vague, and so is the new movie. It's very vague.
It is.
That's the beautiful thing.
Sure,
You know,
I don't want to be hit over the head.
Exactly.
But-
and it doesn't spoon feed us. You know, which is nice because a lot of things, like you said, will hit you over the head. Say, look, here's an explosion, and here's why the explosion happened. Not so much here. It's like, you know what? Really, truly, I mean, we could get to it. Why don't we? Here it comes. Is Rick is he a replicant?
No. Let's go around the table.
There you go.
Interesting.
Is he? One word.
Doesn't matter.
That's 2 words.
That's 2 words.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
No. But you're right.
It doesn't.
It doesn't-
matter.
It doesn't matter.
matter.
That's the point of the entire
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's,
exercise.
But that's what I mean. After watching 2049, and again, it comes down to a question of it really doesn't matter. I mean, again, spoilers at the end. I'm a softie. I'm a little weird. Brought a tear to my eye. It brought a tear to my eye.
Which one, the new one or the old one?
The new one.
Which eye?
Wow. Wow.
Can I interject for just one
I
second?
want to go around the table.
Okay.
Sure. Interject.
No. I
Yes.
just wanted to.
I'm sorry. Interject.
It's okay. The original writer of the screenplay for the original Blade Runner was Hampton Fancher and David Peoples. The new movie was co-written again by Hampton Fancher and Michael Green.
Cool.
So Ridley Scott did not write. And,
Okay.
Denis Villeneuve did not write. But Hampton Fancher did co-write both.
Well, they both, as far as directors go, I mean, they both made beautiful movies. There's no doubt about that.
You can go back to
Absolutely.
your going around the table.
How did you come away feeling after the new one?
After the new one, I thought it was interesting. It was thought-provoking, and I really wanted to sit back with my family and theorize about it, because that's one of my favorite things to do. So, honestly, I felt that it was a great sequel, in my opinion. And I was very happy about that. So,
Thank God for movies that let us have conversations.
Absolutely.
yeah.
So we do need these kind of ambiguous
Yeah.
movies to bring up questions and not answer them for us
Yeah.
or lead us down some sort of primrose path.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad that they, again, spoilers, I'm so glad they didn't answer the question as to whether Deckard
I was so there was a scene.
They were so close a few times, and I'm
Yeah.
glad they didn't.
There was a scene
Him with Wallace.
when he sat there with Wallace and Wallace brought it up,
Yeah.
but kind of left it vague. Thank God they did,
Yeah.
because if they answered it in that movie, it would have.
It
It would have
cheapens
been,
it.
Yeah.
It
it would
cheats
have
it.
been low.
Which scares me for anything. I mean, I love the
Part of me
universe.
wants to be told, though.
Sure. Well, then let me just tell you now.
Yes,
Deckard is a replicant.
based on.
Okay, well, in the original Blade Runner, you see the reflection in the mirror. You see his eyes go red, which is a telltale. And then in this movie, when he's when they're giving him the new model of Rachel, you know, and they said she was designed perfectly for you, and you were designed perfectly for her.
I love that.
So if he's designed perfectly for her, that means he was intelligently designed by someone. And as we just saw in the,
Yeah, but he could have been talking shit.
Yeah.
it could have been, but I don't think so.
No.
No.
And let me ask you a question about the red eye thing.
Yeah.
Did Ridley Scott ever say that was purposeful? Was that added in one of the 15 million director's cuts?
Ridley Scott has stated on numerous occasions that he always believed that Deckard was a replicant. Him and Harrison Ford always argued about it because Ford played Deckard as though he was not a replicant.
Well, which makes perfect sense.
I have one other tell. It just reminded me. So when he's out in Las Vegas desert, right, or he's out in the hotel or whatever, he's not wearing any kind of mask. There's low radiation. Kay isn't wearing any kind of mask, radiation. When the bad guys come in, the only person not wearing a mask is the female replicant Love. Everyone else is in full masks and gear.
Oh, that's a good point.
Wow, that's a great point.
Yeah. So
and you would think,
they can't breathe.
The dog's also
Without
not
it.
wearing a mask.
And the dog, and that we didn't know if the dog
We
was
don't
a
know if the
replicant.
dog is real or
He
not.
asked, remember? He
Yeah.
said, is that...
Well, that was that.
What
That's
did he
him.
say?
Yeah, that to
Doesn't
me.
matter.
That to me is him talking about himself. I mean, that was.
Yeah.
Oh, my own.
So let's talk a little bit about some throwbacks from in this movie, throwbacks to the original movie,
Right.
but maybe not heavy-handed ones. Like there were a lot of scenes where we have Kay, track left, zoom in, track right. That was a cool, shout out without being a glass of blue milk sitting on a counter. It was a cool shout out
Right.
to the original. What else? What other cool? Aside from like actual characters being the same, any other cool shout
I
outs?
think, Linda, you had mentioned the idea that, like, product placement is still a very big thing
Oh
in
my
the
God.
future.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was actively looking for
Yeah.
the product placement.
And
Yeah.
Pan Am
How
is
sick
still
is
Pan Am is still alive and well, right?
Yeah. And what did you just say?
Pan Am is still alive and well in the future.
My favorite thing was seeing Edward James Olmos
Oh,
reprise his role. Just seeing him on the screen again. He's a phenomenal actor. So
yeah.
he brought a little bit of credence and tied the movies together.
Still doing
I'm
it
so
right now.
skeptical now. I'm so skeptical about any reboot, soft reboot,
So skeptical. I'm right there
prequel,
with
sequel.
you. Yeah.
And I was afraid this was going to be some sort of soft reboot, kind of fan servicey thing. And it wasn't. It was
No,
this
it's still
director.
on its own.
Yeah, it totally stood on its own. It was just as maddeningly vague.
To me, it's not maddening.
To me, it is. To me, it is. I like that it can cause conversations like this, but
To me,
but
they
but then I'll never know. I never, there's the thing about the original.
It doesn't matter.
That is what he said.
It's I mean, just like when he's pouring the whiskey for Kay. Is the dog real? Does it matter? And then he pours the whiskey on the floor for the dog,
And it comes on
which was awesome. I was like,
Nobody can out Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford.
That's
No.
He is getting a little long in the tooth,
Oh, I
guys.
said the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
But it's okay because
Please retire, Indy.
because
Yes.
he can't really be an action hero anymore. But the fact that he was okay in this because he's supposed to be an older guy who's kind of out of it.
Yeah.
little bit.
Well, I'm not saying he wasn't okay in this.
No,
It's just,
yeah.
look, I'm actually sad seeing Indiana Jones.
There's another thing that kind of tips the scales in the favor of him being a replicant. How did he hold his own against Kay for even a minute?
That's true.
If he's supposed to
Kay
be
let him.
70... Okay.
just like what was the guy's name? Hold on a second.
First of all, he's the best Blade Runner that ever was,
Okay.
right? So he had a gun.
He
Kay
can
didn't.
He can out-Blade Runner.
He didn't fist fight him. He let him. Kay let him beat him up until he tired himself
I'm
out.
going to go let in our other party member who's
Oh, cool.
about to join us.
Kind of like when Sapper Morton, the guy played by, hold on, I have it written down here, Batista.
How do you pronounce that?
Bring out your
Sapper
last-
Morton, Batista.
I'm digging
Venti,
Batista.
please.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Cool name, Sapper
I
Morton.
know, right? Oh,
Yeah.
so cool. He's a farmer, a protein farmer. And he lets Kay kill him. He lets it happen to protect
The secret.
the miracle.
The miracle.
Yeah.
Which, and if you consider the miracle, what does life want to do? It wants to live, it wants to survive, it wants to reproduce. It wants to be happy. And that's the crux of this entire film. Life finds a way, to quote Jurassic Park.
Hold on to your butts.
So it really doesn't matter at this
Guys,
point.
I'd love to know, and put in your comments here, if you think that Deckard is a replicant or a human, and it took, if two replicants could get together and have, what is the baby? A human baby? A replicant baby?
A hybrid.
A hybrid, a replicant?
Well,
One of those.
Because they're replicants, they're hybrids. I mean, they're skin jobs. They're already hybrids.
I'm sorry, skin job is a derogatory term.
Yes.
there's our boy Joel
Oh,
coming in on the conversation.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Joel, Scullys. Oh,
we've been in a
okay.
movie together.
Wait, what?
Yes, it's a long and sordid tale.
All right, we're going to hear about this.
Yes.
Our friend Spoiler is here. We are trying to thwart any sort of. We don't want anyone to blame us.
Oh, if
Yes.
here's something, then
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're talking about a movie called Blade Runner and its sequel called Blade Runner 2049. And where are we at? We're talking about the ambiguousness of of being a replicant. And I just brought up, like, if two replicants, if Deckard is a replicant and he has a baby with, you saw the movie, right?
Yeah, I just came from it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what
Oh, wow. All right. Well, let me ask this question, then I want to get your fresh thoughts.
Okay.
If two replicants, say Deckard is a replicant,
Yes.
have a baby, is that baby? What is that baby?
I don't know. That's
this
part
line?
of what this movie's about. We don't know. We don't know what it is.
One
Does it have a
answers.
soul? Does it not have a soul? It was born.
Well, what is a soul?
Was it made?
There's-
I was made. You're made. We're all made. It's one of these things we don't know.
Are you a fan of the original?
Yeah.
And
Not a hardcore fan, but I've always
Same.
appreciated it.
Same. Not a hardcore fan, but I
guys are in the
like it.
minority.
Yeah, that's all right. It doesn't need to be all hardcore fans, or we'll all be gushing and stuff. How do you feel about this as a sequel? Does it feel like he?
I felt like it was brought up to date pretty well. The technology when it was the first one was made kind of limited how much they could put in. Like it had that 80s dystopian kind of apocalyptic feel, which was cool. But this one was polished. It was beautiful. That world looked awesome. It made me want to question how it got that way. Like maybe if you are a hardcore fan, you can tell me how fleshed out is that world? Like the 9 other planets that we're apparently on. Like what's going on? So yeah, but I don't know what that baby would be. The question's like they had DNA, so they had to have memories. Otherwise, apparently they alluded to like they wouldn't function properly.
Right.
So there's so many things in common with us that they talk about it in the movie. There really is no wall, but the perception that there is a wall, that there is a difference between us, kind of has to be upheld to preserve the balance of wherever they are in society.
Or
That's what I got.
or the replicants
Or there is
can
no-
potentially take over because there is no difference really,
But they're
and just
strong.
humans. It's like racism.
Yeah.
You know, what I mean, there is no difference, but people want that wall to be there.
It's absolutely parallel
Yeah.
racism. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
You know, you could basically they built these other planets and off the backs of replicants, just like the South built cotton industry and whatever
Right.
off the backs of slaves.
Yeah.
They call them slave labor.
Yeah,
in the movie.
yeah.
They're not subtle about it.
So it's
No, it
not-
isn't subtle.
No, it's
That's the one thing about the movie that's not ambiguous. I don't know. Have they gotten into any? I've never there's other movies in this universe. At least one that I know of. And-
Universal Soldier.
Just Soldier.
With
Kurt Russell.
With Kurt Russell.
I was real disappointed with that.
Yeah, it's certainly not.
It
It's-
takes place in the same universe.
It's way more of an action movie, but it does take place in the same universe.
But only because there's one scene where like you're looking at someone's like history, their military history.
Shoulder of Orion.
And he was at the Shoulder of Orion,
Which is
the
cool.
same
I like
battle
that.
with Boy
But I don't know.
Yeah.
Has there ever been literature or anything? Has there ever been other stories talking about an expanded universe? So you know how Star Wars had the expanded universe. Is there anything
Right.
with Blade Runner in this? I don't think so.
I'm gonna
You brought up a good question, but I wouldn't know any of
I
it.
would know either.
I would have felt like there would have been because I'm sure there's miles of fanfic.
So of course, smiles of fanfic about God
This
knows.
paper.
Yeah. Wow, you just saw it. You sat alone, or
No, I went with Kirk.
oh, okay. He should have brought him. He doesn't talk to us.
He can come out.
He doesn't talk.
He's home right now. Can he come? Okay.
Sure, yeah. Tell him to come by.
Yeah.
We love it when people just walk in as we're talking. It rejuvenates the conversation.
Well,
Go.
he's
Oh, he might be the one person watching, though.
He's
Thank you,
bigger
Kirk.
into this universe. Like he said, there's at least 2 little connecting films that sort of explain at least the blackout incident that
Right.
they talked
Yeah,
about.
there are 3.
Yeah.
Three
Three.
shorts.
Three?
We actually
Okay.
just watched them before we started.
Let's talk about those for a minute because they're fantastic.
They were
I would love
brilliant.
some info.
5 or
They're
6 minutes long.
canon, I assume.
Yeah, they were actually they were. I think this director asked a couple people to make them.
Yeah. So one of them was an anime short made by the same guy who did Cowboy Bebop, Watanabe. It was pretty cool. There was one.
It was beautiful.
It was gorgeous.
So these were animated.
Just
of
the
them-
one.
Yeah, 2 of them weren't. One of them featured Wallace during the Prohibition era, trying to pitch his case about why they should stop prohibiting and allow him to make replicants.
Okay.
And the second one was basically a little backstory on the Sapper Morton Batista character. Just a little vignette about him.
And it leads to how they got the information where he is. Let's talk about, since you brought him up, let's talk about that pretty Emmer effer, Jared Leto.
You mean my boyfriend? So I have a few things to say that aren't involving how beautiful he is.
I have something to say about Jared. He's nice to look at, but he's my least favorite part of this film.
Oh, we agree. We agree on
Okay.
this.
Is
Really?
he blind? Is that the deal?
I think
it's
so.
supposed to be.
I think so. Yeah.
I never got that. I never got that impression. That's
Really?
interesting. I just thought it was a
think
weird replicant.
What I thought is that, did you see those like
That's
hoverfish?
Yeah, those
Yeah.
iBots.
That's how
They
he-
see for him.
Yes.
Okay,
So
that
when,
makes
when he
sense.
disconnected, he started acting more like a blind man touching
Yes.
his hand. His mannerism changed. He became sightless.
Okay, I got you.
You'd see that tangible change.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
never picked up on that.
Why would there was even a little bit about them? He's like, why
That's
is that
how-
one always swimming? Like there's a couple veins in this where they start to talk about like AIs.
Yeah.
And that was one, and of course
Joy.
the joy
Mhm.
was a big one. And
Joy was necessary.
great.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so funny because all these questions brings about that whole ambiguity thing. Where is this really smart, or are they just throwing shit out there for us to be like, oh, let's talk about this?
There's a lot to unpack there.
It's so much.
Well said.
Yep.
Really and truly, with the whole joy thing, it comes down to a question of you have a replicant who is falling in love with his
AI.
His AI.
with his Siri, and
It was somebody, a friend of mine, Newt, just to give credit where credit's due, said it felt like Her. You know that movie with Joaquin
Yeah.
Phoenix?
Yeah.
It had a very Her aspect, especially the weird sex scene.
Yeah.
Which reminded me. I don't know. It reminded me of the scene in Ghost with Patrick Swayze, Whoopi Goldberg, and Demi Moore.
Oh, God
What happened
almighty.
there? Weird.
At least these were both attractive and there was no Whoopi Goldberg involved. But yeah, the AI. Was Joy was Love? What was her name? Love?
Yeah, well,
Was Love was acting on her own for the most part, right? When she was going against, when she was killing humans.
well, she was getting her directive from Wallace was to follow Kay and find the child.
And she wanted to
With
be
the
the
tears.
best. Like she stresses that, like, I'm the best.
Yeah.
I'm the best. Like that was for whatever reason that was. Really
I didn't know if that was a
important.
want or that was real.
I don't know.
Well, she displayed a couple really human-like traits. When she killed Joy, that was cruelty. That
Mhm.
comment she gave was meant to inflict.
Oh my
emotional
God, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Yeah, totally.
That's human.
Yeah.
To me. That's one of our worst parts, but that's human.
Wow, see, this isn't a long conversation. This is all of us thinking, like, processing this movie still. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, how much thought, like, what are they capable of? How are there some that are, like, all the good in us, and then some are the bad in us? Like, are they capable of all the same
does it
things?
depend on how they're programmed?
Are they programmed now?
Well, like you said,
Yes.
they seem to not act correctly without proper memories and proper lifespans, which is what we find in the first
just like
movie.
us.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, well said.
Well, it creates a frame of reference
exactly.
for us how to judge things against.
Exactly.
So in the first movie, they have some fake memories, but they don't have a long lifespan. But the memories make them want to live longer. Like you notice, they hold on to photographs. Leon cared about his photographs in the first movie. Who cared about the photographs? Why did he care about the photographs?
Memory. Because that's all, I mean, that's...
Because they were his photographs, his real memories of actual things that happened, not the fake memories.
They don't know if there's a fake memory and a real memory.
They don't remember how he asked the man who ended up being the daughter
Yeah.
how to tell. But did they kind of imply, because I wasn't sure about this, that all of them also got that?
I have the exact same question.
Yeah,
I have
believe
the...
so.
And that's why they had that moment of empathy. Oh, you thought it was you too.
Mhm.
We've
Yeah.
all...
Exactly.
Yeah.
They all... Okay, so that makes that a little more clear to me. I didn't know if somehow they implanted that into Kay.
And Kay alone.
Yeah, and and putting this whole thing into motion, like a domino effect.
Piece. Like they left it wide open for
Because this whole ambiguity thing again. Like...
Yeah.
we need 3 director's cuts with 3
Yeah, I know.
Well, it's a good thing. No, it's a good thing that they did that with the original film because the theatrical version of that movie is almost garbage. I don't want to be too critical of it, but the voiceover, Harrison Ford didn't want to do it, and he didn't. It's called city speak. He didn't want to do it. He didn't care.
It's a mixture of Klingon, Portuguese, and sign language.
It was not good, and it was detrimental. The end of that movie, where they ride off into the sunset, I don't want them to ride off into the sunset.
Turns out she was special.
Yeah. No, cut off the.
Yeah.
I'm glad there were multiple versions of that movie.
the Princess Leia moment, the
with
virtual reality of Sean Young.
Yeah.
Not virtual reality? Yeah, Rachel. What is that called? The
CG.
CG, the
CG
motion, the
was-
face, whatever.
The CG was perfect.
Oh my god.
It was good,
so
right?
I actually read.
I think it helped because she was very heavily made up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That helped.
It's what made it also really good is that they brought Sean Young in.
Oh, really?
They
I
had
heard she's
her-
cuckoo bonkers.
Well, she may be, which is why they didn't use her on screen.
They had
But,
a performance double for
They
her.
had an actress come in and be like her stunt double, but she coached the actress on how to act like her.
Oh wow.
And how
Wow.
to walk. And
I didn't know she had
like her.
anything to do. That's fantastic that they brought her
And
in to
then
do
they
that.
used the CG just for the face. So they sort of did like a melding of like, they got someone that kind of looked like her and they melded.
Well, she probably still doesn't look
Yeah.
like her. I mean, that was 30 years ago.
Yeah, and they did a voice double as well. That wasn't Sean Young's actual voice.
Oh.
Really?
Anyone else notice just how the shoulder pads stood out and made you think about?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, the 80s.
Wow, that was hot.
No, that was 2017. They were expecting that to look like that right now.
Everybody dressed like a Romulan.
They did. With the bangs were terrible.
She could have been-
Please don't ever have the bangs.
Lived in Warren.
That was 2019. Give it 2 more years.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was 20. I keep thinking it was 2017. It was
No,
2019.
it'll be back. Probably. Everything repeats.
Maybe.
But so I have a couple things I just want to address.
I have questions.
I have a list that I made just of. Now, just to be clear, I enjoyed this movie, and I think that it is probably one of, if not the best sequel, prequel, reboots in
Recent.
living memory.
Recent. No. You got The Godfather 2 as a
Oh,
sequel, so,
And
I-
Empire.
Yeah, no, in recent.
In
Yeah.
recent.
Sure.
The recent, when I say reboot, sequel, prequel, in recent reboot mode,
No,
Clash of
I
the Titans.
Right, yeah, since this whole, I guess in the last,
Ghostbusters,
the last 15 years,
all this mess.
so many movies have been
Yeah.
rebooted, remade,
I think,
prequeled,
yeah.
sequeled,
So
so.
in this newer, this
Yeah,
decade,
this is one of the few that
This is
feels
one of-
like.
one of the best, if not the best.
Yeah.
But that being said, it was not a perfect film. No, there are very few perfect films.
There's only one Jaws out there.
which is a whole other podcast in and of
Yeah.
itself. But there were a few. I don't want to nitpick, but there were a few things I'd like to talk about a little bit more.
Okay.
Was Wallace a replicant?
No.
I didn't think he was.
I don't think
I
so
didn't think he was until I saw that vignette, the little pre movie, the 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
He was very Roy Batty-ish in his mannerisms. Why he would be a blind replicant, I don't really get. But there's a thing with the eyes. They removed the eyes. Maybe he has fake eyes. I don't know.
Well, who made him? Tyrell?
Maybe. Who knows? Maybe he's
Oh,
an Nexus 7. Maybe he's a 6.
I was gonna say, you
Maybe he
pointed
is
that
a
out
singular.
also, that in the in one of those shorts they talk about the Nexus 6 and then they jump right to the Nexus 8.
Like,
So
I
who-
think.
who are these Nexus 7?
Well, I think it's understood.
Wasn't
I think
Rachel a
Rachel's
Nexus
a
7?
It says Rachel's a 7. Harrison Ford's character was a 7.
Yeah,
And they
maybe.
managed to have a baby. There you go. So that was and 7's a perfect number.
And I
So,
think-
in religious circles,
Oh yeah,
7's a perfect
I didn't even
number.
think of that.
So,
And I think
there you
that
go.
I think Rachel, when they zoom in on her DNA and all that and find her number, I think hers is NX-7 something something. So I think that would also, she's a 7 for sure. So I guess the 7's never made it to production, but there were some prototypes.
And Tyrell did say she was special, right? Like, she was, I think she was Tyrell's love, right? Like, love was to Jared Leto. Rachel was to
Like
Tyrell.
pet
The special
projects,
one.
Pet project kind of thing.
That scene,
Make a dream girl.
with the birth of the replicant.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's so, and again, not to nitpick. I think Jared Leto, I love looking at him. He's a decent actor in some things that he's done. He, like in the new Suicide Squad, could have done without as much of him in this movie. I think it would have been cool if we just kind of hinted at him a few times, and then the big standoff with him and Deckard at the near to the end might have been a good way to bring him in. I just think that they focused on him a bit much. The whole thing with him and the replicant baby thing and the slicing of the guts, I didn't hate it, but I could have done without it or less of it, maybe. I don't know.
What do you think, Jared Leto?
He was obsessed. They definitely deliberately had that conversation of, you don't have any children, I have millions. He feels like a father. He feels like a creator, and it seemed like he was so distant from them as individuals because he sees them as so many. You know how they say, like, a few is a tragedy, lots of statistics sort of along that logic. Like, he's got so many that, this one can't reproduce, it's junk. Like, he was so, when that scene started, he came in and kind of chastised her for not saying, can't you at least say a birth is coming or something, like, more poetic, because he wanted that fatherhood thing. So, like, he's trying to create something, and I think all of his motivations are there.
If he is a replicant, it would explain why he's so gung-ho and trying to figure out how to reproduce. Because if that's part of his father thing, maybe he wants to have an actual baby.
On that line, there's kind of a conflict there. How come the replicants, they want the breeding ability for their own reasons? He wants the breeding ability for the same reasons, but for totally opposite reasons. So if it comes to public light that replicants can breed, who controls the message of whether that's what the replicants want or whether that's what Wallace.
It's funny. I said this when Penelope and I were talking about the movie. Everybody wants this for different reasons. Right. Like, it seems like both sides, and there's no real villain. I guess Wallace kind of is, and that's why they showed him. There's no real villain. I guess love, maybe.
Yeah, it's a perspective thing.
Right, it is. But it is. It's relative, right? I mean, none of us can really... I mean, love, they had to make her do evil things and be evil, so we would be like, oh, they're bad. Yeah. But everybody wanted the same thing to happen.
Well, for vastly different reasons.
Yeah. Right. And who controls it matters as well.
Yeah, I mean...
Wallace pretty directly says we need tons more slaves than we can ever make unless they can make themselves.
So, yeah, that's a villain.
Yeah, I'm going to go villain. Yeah. I'm thinking villain.
And that kind of lends itself to what I'm thinking. He doesn't think of them as an individual, like, these are my children, like a parent would look at their kids and feel love.
Right.
This is what I've made.
Yeah.
Megalomania.
Why couldn't they just make them more like machines? Why do they have to make them so human?
Because of the uncanny valley and people.
No.
With robots.
The conceit of humanity, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, why would we want to make human-like slaves?
Because they're easier to interact with.
Ever want to do that? Because it is easy to interact with. Because...
Well, I mean, why do we ever want to do that? I understand, not with people, but with machines, if they can make our lives better, we use it all the time. This phone is my slave. You know what I mean? It just doesn't, it's not alive. It doesn't have, it's not,
right up until the point where you can say...
Sentient, thank you. Data.
LG, I need you to, put the toast on for me.
Yeah, I can.
Pretty soon, LG will be able to do that. It can now, actually, if you program it the right way. But
yeah, there's smart homes. They've come a long way.
Are they our slaves?
In essence, yeah.
Well, then... Right. So why did Tyrell and Wallace, for that, make these machines have feelings, personalities?
I think it's because humanity never strays too far from itself. Individuals think more outside the box, but companies, people who want money, stuff like that, they often don't. So I think that for that, it was the idea of just making something, rather than making something very efficient, something that wouldn't necessarily think. I think for them it was more of, if it's lifelike, people will want it.
Back to Jurassic Park. They didn't think about why. They just thought about, look what I can do.
It's kind of like Octomom. I mean, I'm sorry, I know that sounds awful.
Wait, let's slow down a second here. Is she creating a slave army? So there's a woman.
Exactly where I was going.
There's a woman that had lots of babies.
Yes, and
they gave her a TV show.
But here's the thing: just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean.
Oh wait, was Octomom with the show, or
you're thinking of like
or what was the one with the show?
+8 or something.
Yeah, I don't think you're thinking of Octomom.
Yeah, maybe that's what I was. Well, she was on TV. I can't believe you threw me for a loop with Octomom.
Sorry,
she's the predecessor to Tyrell.
The moment that happened, the scientists and the doctors came forward and said, "Look what we did." Mm-hmm. It wasn't so much about
the fact she was bringing 8 children into the world, that she had 8 children at home.
Well, we're getting into a very...
And I know, this is big
because she could have said, well, I only want 4 of them.
Yeah.
But now we're getting into some very...
I hear you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think...
Very personal beliefs,
Let me throw this out there because this will...
And now, here's speaking of personal beliefs, where does religion play in this whole...
Well, Kay talks about that. Is it born? Does it have a soul? Do I have a soul? And that's the whole point of the movie. I want to go back to why.
Wait, no, Joel was going to say something. We'll get back to
The belief of the replicants that birth is what gives the soul. That's all I really felt like they referenced directly. But just in the trend of technology, what we're talking about in AIs and slaves and machinery, what do you think? Do you think as we approach that point where we're going to start having robots, like I have a Roomba already that cleans my floors.
Mm-hmm.
In 100 years, I might have a personal assistant that's some sort of robots. Do you think humanity is going to choose something that looks like a C-3PO, very robotic looking?
No.
Or are we going to opt to cater to our egos and make these things human-like, i.e., is that how we get to something?
We're going to have Robin Williams, Centennial Man.
So let's talk about pleasure models for a second.
Exactly.
Do you want to bang a Roomba or do you want to bang Daryl Hannah?
Depends on the night.
I'm sure very
attractive Roombas.
Yeah.
There are some very attractive.
Are you making me choose right now?
Seriously though, I mean, there's even now there's lifelike robots out there.
Product placement a la Blade Runner.
That's BJ's brand water right there. So there you go. Pan Am water. No, and it's a little bit of can we, should we, will we? It's a little bit of would I rather bang a Roomba or Daryl Hannah?
Ray Bradbury.
And it's a little bit of do we want these weird robots walking around or do we want people walking around?
Well, I mean, they've done studies, because they are doing these robots now, and they've done studies, and people are really uncomfortable. Like, if they see something that looks a little bit human, but not human enough, it creeps them out.
Well, the Uncanny Valley.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, we're going to see these $14,000 pleasure models that are going to turn into $30,000.
Is that the price point? Oh,
$14,000.
Start saving.
Yeah, 12 to 14.
Are they financing available? Or?
I would not be surprised. But I mean, they're going to be more human than human, as they say in Blade Runner.
Ray Bradbury had a short story. It was an original Twilight Zone. Remember?
Oh yeah. That's
I Sing the Body Electric, and it's basically a grandmother that the kids come together. They need a mother figure in their life. Somebody's gonna, and they basically build. Oh, the blue eyes are nice, and they put that in there. And at the end, this woman comes knocking at the door, and lo and behold, it's their grandmother.
You've never watched a 70-year-old episode of Twilight Zone. There you go.
Read the book. It's great. But it's the same sort of thing. Humans relate better to things that they can relate to.
Yeah, and I mean...
So you're right. I think it's always going to be something that looks
like us.
More human than human.
That's true. And instinctually, humans, for better or for worse, and for most of the time it goes to worse, but people instinctually look for things to breed with. And I know, again...
Back to the Roomba.
Back to the Roomba.
Return of the Roomba.
If something doesn't look right, people don't always go for it. And unfortunately, this can go to...
Unless you're me. I'm sorry, wife.
Say to me. Hold on.
That's my point. Like, instinctually, humans are so narcissistic to the point where it can get to egos and where some people can... see what's better for genes. It's how instincts work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
I mean, there's that whole deep thing where with gene, you can choose genes now. You can have designer babies, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ethics.
Oh my God.
Coming up with technology, and this movie is a perfect example.
Yeah.
There's so many ethics when it comes to technology and the way technology is growing, and how we want to use this technology, and
we can't even get internet rules right.
No, I know. It's true.
I know. And now you throw in this, is something alive? At what point does our AI become sentient?
Look at how many different
Are you
stories have tried to answer.
We can't even say when we become.
Oh, absolutely.
That's true.
Yeah, we can't even agree on when we become alive.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Right? So
You're absolutely right.
learn something like that. Yeah, I mean, Centennial Man,
AI.
iRobot,
robot.
Yeah.
AI. Still waiting for that
AI.
movie to end.
AI, Haley Joel Osment. Whatever happened to Haley Joel? Haley Joel, if you're out there,
So another thing I want to...
Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Was Pinocchio a real boy? He was made.
I mean, he was alive.
Yeah, I mean, that's what AI was based.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Well, we're going to hit that point soon. They're starting to, Elon Musk and other people are starting to have briefings with congressmen about the implications of AI. And,
Musk is concerned.
He's very
He
concerned.
might have reason to be. Same with
No.
what's his name?
Hawking?
Thank you. Yes.
Yep.
I was going to go the guy in the chair.
Rude.
Sorry, Stephen.
I'm sorry.
If you're watching. So another thing I want to talk about just a little bit, and this is purely superficial, not any deep conversation at all. Let me bring it out a little
Yeah,
bit.
let's take a deep breath here.
So in the original movie, there were no subtitles. People were speaking in other languages that we didn't necessarily understand. The city speak.
It's called City Speak.
And just based on this is no one gets. It's a family meme. We're always saying that to ourselves. So it's an inside joke. Always. So there were no subtitles.
Right.
The different peddlers of food were talking to Deckard, and Gaff never had subtitles. There are subtitles in this movie, and it annoyed me. Because I don't care what they're saying. I just want to know what Kay is going to say to them in response.
You didn't need to know. The context was.
Yes.
Listen, context clues is a thing of the past, guys.
That's
Unfortunately,
my problem.
we are
We're too
getting
stupid for
more.
context
We're
clues.
dumbing down as a society,
So
and
that bothered me.
people, filmmakers, or
That's an interesting point.
Yeah,
are dumbing down with it. It's everything's lowest common denominator now. And thank God this movie really isn't. It's not the new Transformers movie. It's not suffering from that too much, but it is suffering from
There
it
was
somewhat.
Yes, there was a tad bit of the dumbing
Yeah.
down. There was a scene where
That's Hollywood in general.
Yeah, he's going to his apartment and they're yelling insults at him. It's obvious they're yelling insults. I don't need the subtitles. And then the guy from with the captain, I'm your captain now. From that.
Oh,
yeah.
Doc Badger.
Irish. Look at me, Irish.
Yeah, I didn't need his subtitles. He was just telling me crap about the horse, which I didn't need to know. And to mention the horse, I'm bothered it wasn't a unicorn. Why was it a horse? Why wasn't it a unicorn? Why didn't we get the unicorn back?
Maybe that was a little too over the
It
head.
might have been.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know why. Because it's natural.
No, I was going to say. Well, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Go
Because
ahead.
it's something that people have seen before. What about that? Because a unicorn. How many people have you pulled over and said, "Hey, have you seen a unicorn?" Like, I don't know. I'm just saying.
That might be. Throw this out there.
We see everything but a unicorn in this movie.
Maybe it's a question of we've lost even more since over the last 30 years. We at least had dreams of unicorns. Now we just get horses because humanity has gone down.
We're losing
that
more
makes
and
sense.
more.
We're losing more and more of that magic. I don't know. Maybe.
Ridley Scott a lot of credit there.
Yeah, I
I brought this up before.
It was natural.
I brought this up before about the original Blade Runner, and we like it, but we're not devotees.
Yeah.
I think we as moviegoers or like movie critics as a whole gave Ridley Scott a lot of credit for that movie that maybe,
The original?
maybe wasn't as deserved. Is ambiguity brilliance?
Or laziness. I think in this case it was. This movie was so deliberate. The original, Blade Runner. It was so deliberate. It was hellish. If you read, it was terrible to work on the movie because Ridley Scott wanted it a certain way. It had to be like this. It had to do this and that. This movie was deliberate, and that's one of the reasons he was so mad about them cutting it and making him do all the narratives and all that crap he didn't want to do. I don't know if he's brilliant. I don't want to answer that question.
Visually,
the movie was amazing.
Yeah.
He recycled footage. I'm sure you guys know the unicorn footage was actually from Legend.
Why was there just like a giant naked woman everywhere, like with a statue?
Oh,
yeah. In this new movie, that was
There were a lot of boobs.
There's a lot of wives.
There were a lot of boobs in this movie.
That's a little.
Yeah.
I guess in the future, Las Vegas is even more of what it is now. Because I'm guessing that they were in Reno or Vegas.
Well, even the giant
Saw on the map.
VR woman
Yeah.
who bent over
Yeah.
Joy.
Joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a joke.
And,
Right.
and that's everyone I'm sure knows what hookers called the dudes Joes.
Yes.
So like, did she realize that she was kind of programmed to think of a man as a Joe, and when she was naming him, not even realize she was kind of following programming? And what was with the shots?
So many
girl
questions.
looked At her, she was like, "I've looked inside you, and there's not as much as you think," or something. Like, what was that about?
I don't know. I thought Joy was a plant, a kind. You know what I mean?
She
Turned
could
out
have
not to
easily
be.
been.
Right. She could have been.
She wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of sad.
Yeah.
To go like that.
It was sad because he had feelings. It just showed. Yeah. It was pretty beautiful.
So I wonder if during the crazy sex scene, she says one moment sinking, and there's like a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Did she sync up with the replicant girl because the replicant girl is like a robot girl? Like, is that like part of her programming? She could do that?
No, I think she was just sinking physically, right? I think the
It's
form.
kind of like buffering and rendering.
Because
I don't-
maybe that's
yeah.
what she meant by "I've been in you" or whatever. Because they were like molded together. I don't know.
Or she was just talking shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There were
probably
a
more
lot
than
of
that.
boobs in this movie, way more than the original. I'm not gonna say it bothered me or didn't bother me, but just as a statement, there were way more boobs. Way more.
So,
Ford
okay.
punched more people at his old age than I was expecting.
Yeah, we talked about that too.
Fists.
That's another thing that makes me think he was a replicant, because there's no way he could have held his own against Kay if he was.
He didn't hold his own.
Do you think that we asked this already, do you think that Deckard's a replicant?
No, I don't think the plot works if he is as well. I think he has to be human, otherwise... I think that was the key of why they were able to succeed. You can't maybe breed a replicant with a replicant. It has to be some sort of human DNA. I don't know.
But there's a perfect answer to that, though. I don't think he's a replicant either, but I don't really have a specific reason for it. It's just the character. There's something about the character I believe is human. But there's the perfect answer. What's the perfect answer?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Either way, it really doesn't.
And he says it in the movie, I know it's real.
Yeah, I thought that was badass. Like, you know, he's being interrogated by Wallace, and he's like, I know what's real. And I thought that was just like, yeah, you go, Rick. You go, Rick.
Harrison Ford, man. Just don't make another Indiana Jones, please.
So I want to get back on the unicorn for just a second.
Don't make another Indiana Jones.
Okay.
Maybe I'm talking. Me and Harrison are talking right now.
Harrison, if you're watching,
He's watching.
he's the one person watching.
Maybe you could be a father figure to. I hate the passing of the torch,
no,
though.
There's no Mutt Williams.
No Mutt Williams, but that should have been better cast. Let's go off on a tangent here for a second.
No, stop. Shia LaBeouf is not the awful monster you think he is.
Well, he certainly is no Indiana Jones or son of Indiana Jones.
Uh-huh.
No.
The swinging with the monkeys, I never should have done that. I'll give you that.
The new the fridge.
Somebody told me, and I think would have been a great casting choice, is Bradley Cooper. Something about Bradley Cooper, I think, could have an Indiana Jones quality. Maybe not as tough, but definitely as smirky, confident, that kind of thing.
Charming.
Is he
Charming, absolutely.
Is he too old to have actually been the son, or would he have just been like a
No.
soft...
Look how old Harrison Ford is
I
now.
don't know. I mean,
He's like 900 years old.
old.
I don't think so. I think Bradley Cooper. Well, I went off on a serious
You
tangent
did.
here.
But
Listen, we need to take a Blade Runner break for a second. Is
Is Kirk coming?
Kirk coming?
He didn't get back to me. I might
All
still
right.
be in the shower. I don't know.
That's good.
We'll see.
So good. That's him, number 4. If someone wants
Did
to
you
know.
say something about... I'm sorry.
I want to get back on the
I'm
unicorn
panning.
real quick.
All right.
So I did a little. I don't go on Reddit ever, but I just briefly just Googled a couple questions that I had. Some people believe that for whatever reason the unicorn wasn't a unicorn. Doesn't really matter. But the horse, if you notice, there were other wooden animals in Deckard's apartment. Mm-hmm. There was the first thing you see as far as the animals go. There's a lion, an elephant, and I forget the third.
So he watches Game of Thrones.
A lion, an elephant, and something. L is lion. There's a rhinoceros. R, another horned animal. Mm-hmm. An elephant. E. And then when you pan over, there's 2 other animals. Some people think that one was an antelope. Some people think the other one was a cheetah. If you take those letters and spell it out, it spells Rachel. Oh, wow. But without...
God, people just have so much time on their hands.
Stop.
No director.
Stop. I have more.
Other than Stanley Kubrick.
Stop.
Go ahead.
So, but as we all know, Rachel...
You're eating this up, aren't you?
Yeah.
Rachel does not spell her name like... It's not R-A-C-H-E-L. It's R-A-C-H-A-E-L. Mm-hmm. With only one antelope, there's an A missing. The daughter is Dr. Anna Stelline is her name. So the missing A is her. That's like a fan theory.
That was interesting.
So I looked at a cam because I had to get the screen caps. The 2 other animals, I'm not convinced they're an antelope and a cheetah.
Okay.
So this theory may not hold water, and even if it does, like, who cares really?
So the piano
But
that he walks in first, it's a middle C that he pushes.
oh, it's a middle C.
Yeah.
Okay, middle C.
So
yeah.
later on, I'm just totally making this up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's how easy it is to do. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I could sit here and think about, it's a C note. Okay. Well, C is 2 higher than D, and then Deckard spells D, and you could just...
But there's also, this was deliberate. Somebody had to carve these stupid prop animals, and would they just pull out...
What if it's the last letter of each animal, not the first letter of each animal?
Then
What if one's made of
Rachel.
teak? It's a coincidence it spells Rachel.
Well, how about the name Deckard?
Yeah.
The name Deckard. Look at Rene Descartes. I think, therefore I am.
Wow.
That's
I never picked that up.
I didn't either until I read an article. Pretty good.
Thank God for other people.
Was
I
it on
read, it's
Reddit?
very good. Keep reading. Maybe read it. I forget. But the simple fact of the matter is, it's. I thought that was kind of a neat thing. Now, in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, his name is Deckard.
Yeah.
And in the book, spoilers.
Read the book.
Read the book.
Read the book.
He is human.
unquestionably.
In the book.
Unquestionably
Okay.
human, married to a human woman.
Okay.
Totally normal
All right.
human guy.
All right. And
But
he's a human.
the movie
Whatever.
and the book are two different worlds.
Oh, no
Very
doubt
different.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very
Two
It
different.
really just inspired the story for the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We all know that.
And that a sheep. That brings us back to sheep.
Yes.
Gaff makes an origami sheep when he's sitting there talking to Kay.
Shout out to the book.
Yeah. There's no gaff in origami.
What's that?
Oh!
Is there?
Yeah.
We haven't.
Kind of a ram that had horns,
I
right?
couldn't tell if it was a sheep or a dog. That was the thing. Well,
It
yeah,
was
like
looked
it-
bulkier than a dog.
At first I was like, is that sheep? And then I was like, wait, is that a dog?
It was a dire wolf.
Because that's what I was trying to say, because it could be a floppy-eared dog, but I wasn't sold on that either. I was
It
like, how am I looking
let's
at
talk about Drive. What's the guy? I'm terrible with
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling was.
I want to first.
Okay.
First, I have the conch.
All right, you're the conch.
So Ryan Gosling is the perfect actor to play a replicant
Because he can't act.
because he can barely act. But it made him great in this movie because he doesn't emote very well. He just looks confused well
So you say
and
Keanu could have been a
Yeah.
replicant.
absolutely Keanu. But Keanu tends to overact,
Yeah.
where Ryan Gosling tends to just not emote at all.
Plus,
Which
in vague ways, he kind of could be the son of Harrison Ford.
They looked a lot alike.
But you know what?
Yeah.
If you squint, you're absolutely. He's right. It's true.
And I have to
Yeah.
say, it's
lucky guy.
Another reason that I like this movie is because it's, and I'm not trying to say I'm super smart or anything like that, but Hollywood is so stupid now that it's very hard. It's very easy to figure out the twists and plots. You know, Sixth Sense, always dead. It's easy. Spoilers. It's easy. You know, a lot of twists and turns in movies nowadays.
Right.
You know, you have it figured out
Yeah.
fairly early on.
We're actually expecting now
Yes. Yeah.
what a twist. So we're always looking out for it. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when,
Yes,
so
exactly.
so as soon as he has the date and same date and he has this memory,
Right.
I'm thinking to myself, oh, no brainer, he's the kid.
Yeah.
Right.
We turn to each other, oh, he's the kid, he's the
Yeah.
kid.
Sure.
We were like, oh, we figured it out early. We're
That's
smart.
that memory. How come he's the only swinging dick that went out to go grab the horse?
Because nobody ended up in that
Yeah.
place.
Oh.
It was the place that reminded him of. I can buy it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the brilliance of this ambiguous storytelling. I tend to be able to buy whatever they're selling because it's ambiguous enough that it could go that way. I could suspend my
Plausibly. Reasonable minds
Yes.
make different conclusions.
Exactly. That's
Stuff, yeah.
exactly.
So kudos to this movie for actually surprising me because I'm so smart. I thought I had it figured out.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Doesn't happen often.
It doesn't happen often.
There were
It was a
times
double
where they made me
twist.
think
Yeah.
that there were two kids. I really thought there was like a boy girl.
Same here.
So did I. I
Yeah.
thought they were twins.
I was
Yeah.
hoping that was going to be the big reveal. I was going to feel smart. No.
Yep. And they didn't hit us over the head with him being the kid.
Right.
They he kind of let us make the decision. You know what I mean? Even though he makes the decision himself, but they don't hit us over the head with it. So we're like, right. So we're like, oh,
Yeah.
there it is.
And what an existential crisis that this replicant is having.
Yeah,
I mean,
because he's supposed to kill the kid.
exactly.
And now he thinks he is the kid. And then
Well,
he goes
yeah.
back to,
He freaks out. The one part where he acts.
Yeah, and he's like, they're doing the scan, and they're like, something's
wasn't
not
that
right.
bad.
What's wrong with that?
No, he wasn't.
His psych evaluation
Yeah.
was one of the creepiest things I've seen.
Thank you for bringing that up.
It's like the reverse Void Comp, and it's
Oh my
awesome.
God.
the whole
They-
time.
It looks like they've nailed down the void comp test, right? Like it used to be a human giving it to them, just asking questions and kind of
Right.
looking
Yeah.
at them
Yeah.
with a machine.
Right.
Now it's just a machine that gives it.
Yeah.
And it looks they've like kind of whittled it down to what does this need to be, and it was riveting, wasn't it? The way
Yeah.
they did it.
Yeah.
You're trying
was-
to keep track of it. You feel like you're going nuts while
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out
Who wrote that?
I
Like,
couldn't really figure out how it was working.
well, no. How did the first one work? We don't know.
Well, no, it was
Judge
questions and
emotional
answers.
responses and
But
stuff,
this was like they're just shouting words and like asking
And,
questions,
yeah,
but he's not
and
answering
kept
them.
answering with the same answer. Most of the time, it was like little cells or something.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
it looked like brainwashing more than a psych about it.
Yes.
It was
Yes,
weird.
it is.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird and cool. It worked well.
I liked it. It was cool.
Yep.
And he's supposed to obey, and he lied. He said, "Oh, I've killed the kid."
He said he took care of it. I mean,
yeah, he's implying that he killed the kid, and
So what you asked for is done.
yeah, well, that's the implication. But maybe in his head, all right, well,
He did
that
find
kid's
the kid.
done. Yes.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's what he was thinking.
Which is why he was able to lie. It's relative. Maybe, okay, well, the kid's dead. I'm not going to be that kid. I'm just going to be a replicant. I'm not going to follow this.
right.
You
But
know,
it messed
I'm
him
gonna.
up. I mean, it
Oh,
messed
yeah.
him- and that's why she said you've got 2 days to get yourself.
Let's talk about Robin Wright.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh my god.
Really good.
Love
But
her.
between Wonder Woman and this, she went from Buttercup to badass, man.
Holy
Have you
crap.
seen her House of Cards?
No, yeah.
She's no
Oh
joke.
my
She's
gosh.
no
Yeah.
Does
joke.
she play like a tough?
Oh yeah, she's the president's wife, and she is a badass.
Well, that doesn't mean equal tough.
No,
It does now.
it does now because she actually convinced. Spoiler. She actually convinced her husband that he needed to step down because of a scandal, and she takes his place as president.
Is that in our Constitution? Wait
She was,
a second, because
She
that.
was the vice president.
oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
They ran it on a double ticket.
Shut up, husband, wife, president. So you left that out.
Yeah, so they ran on a double ticket, and he had done some really, really horrible, crappy stuff. Over
Did she
the
do it as a power play?
She did. So she kind of in the background let Congress do its thing and do this investigation. She played nice to her husband, played not nice behind his back, and then he goes, she becomes the president, and he's like, okay, I'll agree to step down if you promise to pardon me. And she's like, of course. But then he steps down, and that's when
TV is just setting a new
Yeah.
bar
Yeah.
for our politics to follow. Because just when we thought it couldn't get weirder, we're going to have President Ivanka.
But she was.
We are not talking about politics right now.
No.
I am your president now. Like, so now that's why the Russians are involved. Oh my God!
It's all clear now.
Spoilers! Spoilers!
The country is spoiled.
No, he's
House
not.
Harkonnen.
He is all too human.
House Harkonnen.
Yeah.
All right,
Absolutely.
and that brings it around. That brings it around because this is something I wanted to talk about. The director of this movie,
I need to Google this.
I think it was
What's his
announced,
name again?
or either that.
That's it. Yes.
What was it? Yes. Okay. George and I both, either it's wishful thinking or we think we heard this somewhere that
Yes.
he is going to be directing or is slotted to direct a new Dune movie.
This pleases me.
I'm afraid.
Forrest Gump writer Eric Roth to pen Denis Villeneuve Dune reboot.
I'm in. You know, it's funny you said Forrest Gump, and I pictured Forrest Whitaker. So I don't know
Why
why.
does Forrest Whitaker need a writer? His own
I
personal.
don't know. Anyway, that excites me.
I'm
Like,
digging that.
there's
I'm digging
another fantastic sci-fi book,
Yes.
intelligent, right? Not just some stupid action movie, that could use a reboot.
It's been done well, and it's been done extremely poorly.
I never saw the TV version.
When Sci-Fi did their version, holy moly.
No.
It's just sci-fi TV garbage, right?
No, it was
No.
great.
Oh, was
It
it?
followed the book.
Oh, wow.
But
It
it
was
was.
logical.
She's saying the David Lynch one was terrible.
Oh, God.
That's what she's saying. I didn't get that at
watched
first.
it- I watched it 20 times, and I had to sit with my parents and explain it to them because they're like, what is
It's
it?
David Lynch
Yeah, I know, but I had to explain
and
it.
Sting
And I was a high school student.
And
I
and
had
Patrick Stewart
Dean Stockwell.
Yes.
And Sean Young.
and Sean Young.
Young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my brother is coming with many Fremen warrior to debate you. All right, so it's not a fantastic movie,
Spoilers.
but it is seminal.
It
It
is.
is.
It is.
It is.
Us,
Absolutely.
you know,
I enjoyed it. I
I quote it every day in some way.
Sure.
You know, it has become one of those
Yeah.
cultural nerd
Yeah.
Sure.
points.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'd love to see it redone because of modern technology, because of storytelling could be better. I mean, it was David Lynch. Did you guys ever see? Now we're talking about Dune, the documentary about Jordan
Jodorowsky.
and Anton Dark Aronofsky's.
He's on Prime, yeah.
Not Darren Aronofsky's
Rocky
Dune. I would watch that
I'll check
too.
that out.
No, but just looking at the work that went into that. Oh, that reminds me, Sid Meier, the same guy who did Blade Runner, the futurist. I think he might have been involved with that. I could be wrong.
Into the Jodorowskys?
Yeah, he might have
Okay.
been on board with
Everyone was like, they had so many people involved.
Salvador Dali was supposed to be involved. Mick Jagger was supposed to be
Wow.
the Fade character instead
Fade
of Sting.
Ralph. He was going to be Fade.
Wow.
Well, the Fade character was expanded greatly because of Sting, right? The Fade wasn't that big in the books.
Fade.
I don't remember. Was he?
He's
Everybody
not-
was a big character in
Yeah.
the book because, except for the main couple of characters, because there were so many.
Yeah, Paul, Jessica, those
Yeah.
are the biggies.
Yeah, there were a lot of minute characters in that.
So I'd like to see that done.
If it's done well.
It's got to be
Yeah.
done well. That's the trick.
Yeah.
And is it going to be done well in a 2-hour, 2.5
see,
I don't
hour,
think it-
3/4 hour?
That's always been the issue with that
I know.
movie.
That's
With
why
that
sci-fi
story.
did a better job.
They might put it.
Because
they
I've
might
never
make
seen it,
it
I've never
two
watched
films.
it.
It's really good. I
Yeah.
was shocked.
They're
You know
doing
what?
it with it. They're making it 2 films. Maybe they're going to try to do that with Dune, 2
The
movies.
beautiful thing is, though, it is organically set up to be like 2
It
sections.
really is.
True.
I don't know. You know, you mentioned something, Justin, about the concept of TV and how now it's such an interesting
Oh,
format.
this is the golden age of television.
She's
Forget,
right.
forget the 50s and 60s. This is the golden age of television.
I
There
agree.
is more better TV now, whether you're
Mo
paying for it
better.
on Netflix.
Mo better. I feel mo
Amazon,
better.
or- Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Like, you-
agree.
Yeah, you can't.
And
You,
you can-
can't beat it.
You can tell
It's because
a story.
it's because the networks have been
The
net.
production values are.
But doesn't it
insane.
Budget,
swing
yeah.
both ways too
Yeah.
now because it's cheap to make good stuff? You get a lot of crap.
That's
as well,
true.
You know,
Well, there is a lot of crap out
Yeah.
there.
There is.
like you would hope take the earlier days of television and movies to get the funding and all the things necessary to create those projects. You had to run it by tons and tons of people. Had to be like, yes, this is very good. Otherwise, it didn't get made, or it was made but made for like C-grade actors and never got exposure and it died before it got off the ground. So now, because it's cheap to make anything, you can really make anything. So I feel like it's gonna go both ways. We're gonna have so much good stuff, so much terrible stuff.
Well, the cream rises to the top, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think so.
Golden age of television.
Yeah.
A Dune series would be fantastic.
It would be.
I mean, there's so much.
Correctly
There's
done.
so much to,
political intrigue.
so
Oh my
much.
God, yeah.
and they. I mean, and they could base it on the books, multiple books.
Yes.
You know, at least the first 3.
Absolutely.
How many books did he write? And I know
Oh, his son picked
Before
up the
he died?
mantle. Yeah, I think 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5
4 or
before
5 in
he
the-
died, I believe.
Children of Dune. I
Do
was,
Messiah.
and then his son picked up, which is kind of cool.
Denise, if you're out there, you can answer this question.
Yeah, Google can answer it. Actually, I mean,
That's true.
I have my my
okay,
slave
I'll
computer
do it.
right at
I'll
my
do it. Your slave there.
right at my fingertips here.
I didn't realize that there's only like one recurring character throughout all the Dune books. And Denise told me that. Denise Ash. Good to see you, Denise.
Is it Paul?
No.
No.
Believe it or not. do you
I
wanna
only
tell
read the
you?
first 3, and that's
Spoilers.
Paul and Paul's kids.
Duncan, Idaho.
Really?
I know, right?
Huh.
It's bizarre. What kind of a world do we live in? Duncan, Idaho.
Duncan, Idaho.
Dune Messiah, Children of Dune.
I read those 3.
I'm not sure who wrote what though. It's not time.
He wrote those 3. Those are the first 3.
Okay.
Then he dies, and then a whole host of other people.
He also wrote God Emperor of Dune, Heretics of Dune,
I didn't read them.
Chapter House Dune.
Okay.
After that,
Apologies.
his son Brian wrote Hunters of Dune, Sandworms of Dune, Dune House Atreides, A Whisper of Caladan Seas, House Harkonnen, House Carino, Dune the Machine. There's like 27.
Yeah, there's a lot of dunes. A lot of dunes. All right.
Did
Well,
we talk about the CG? Did we talk about CG in general?
we talked about Sean Young.
Overall, all the CG in this was really good.
How cool was it to see the Terrell building darkened in that? You'd see one spinner heading towards you. Like the new spinners. I want one of those. We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, they did a lot of spin. That's one thing they did in this. They did a lot of spinners.
Oh, yeah.
You know, would we see 2 in the original? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
And now-
only the police model. And,
Right.
Yeah.
I actually assumed only police had spinners
I did too. Actually.
until
I did.
this.
Yeah.
I thought it was like specifically a police thing, and now there's like luxury ones with big windows and
Well, maybe
like
in the original they
limousine
were.
spinners.
Maybe they were just for the police in the earlier.
Well, you wanna, I don't know, anything you want to wrap up with?
Not specifically, George.
Anything you wanted to touch on that we didn't touch on?
As much as I'd like to...
You had a whole list there.
Well, yeah. Well, as much as I'd like to see what would happen next, I don't want necessarily.
No, give us another 20 years, 30 years to soak it in.
Yeah, because we're on the cusp. Yeah, right. Right now we're on the cusp of the replicant revolution.
We'll replicate you.
The replicant revolution is about to start.
Well, I got to tell you one thing that I think the movie's getting rave reviews. There's people like us all around talking about it. Critics are loving it. It's fresh, right? It's a fresh tomato, but it's doing very poorly at the box office, which movies
Just like
where...
the original Blade.
Right, exactly. So I don't see a sequel in its future because it's all about money.
Yeah.
It's not about rave reviews.
It's not about
It could be a slow burning fire. The video release could generate all the revenue that this doesn't. Because if people keep doing this, it'll organically get out there that people should see it. So
Yeah, it could
potentially.
become a cult
Yeah.
classic
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, I don't think we're
Well, it's definitely not going to be on a fast track. Yeah,
Like-
and they keep making goddamn Transformers movies.
I know.
Like, give me a...
Hey, the last one had Stonehenge in it, at least.
Wait, what?
The last one had Stonehenge in it. The last one.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I didn't see it either, but he watched it.
Everyone else in the world has seen it. I don't know why people watch these movies. I don't get it.
They go to Stonehenge.
They do really well
Stonehenge?
to, like, overseas. Oh, it's so terrible.
It has to be.
It was free on YouTube, and I couldn't get through it.
That's how we were with that.
Yeah,
What was that?
That was
What was the one where the guy says, what's he say? Say the line.
He
This is
says,
awesome.
so he pulls over this father of this
Marky
daughter,
Mark. He pulls up
And-
Marky Mark.
and basically the guy says, "My face is my warrant,"
That's-
very seriously,
What the
in
heck?
response to searching this man's house.
What?
My face is my warrant, because the father says, you need a search warrant, and
Was it Fear?
the officer says, "My face is my warrant."
No, it
warrant.
wasn't
It was
Fear.
one of the Transformers movies.
It was.
Oh,
it was
hideous.
Transformers.
Dark of the Side of
no,
the...
it was like-
Side of the
It
beast.
was like Age of Extinction. That's
Age of
it.
Extinction?
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
God,
the fourth
it was
movie.
Was that the one with Leonard Nimoy?
No, that was
Wait,
Revenge
he
of
was
the
in
Fallen. Yeah, he was the Fallen, Revenge of the Fallen.
Wow.
No, Age of Extinction was one of the Dinobots. Anyway, just why... Guys, ask yourselves these questions. Why is that getting made over and over? And, I don't know. There's starving people in the world, and people are putting money into Transformers. It's so bad. Terrible. You're not a fan of Transformers movies, are you?
No.
I like the first one.
Yeah, so did I, because it made me have feels of nostalgia. You go back on it now, and it's yeah.
Shia LaBeouf was okay.
And it was a fun robot shooting thing. Just like the first Pacific Rim. It was a fun movie, monsters fighting robots. Dude, the trailer for the new one, oh my god.
Mixed feelings.
Oh, my feelings aren't mixed. It looks like complete garbage.
Spoilers, garbage.
Looks like I don't know.
I
Hopefully
know
I'm
we're
wrong.
trying to wrap up.
It's hard to do, and we have a lot to say.
You brought up something.
Okay.
You brought up a trailer.
Yeah, he did. I heard
Dun,
him.
dun, dun.
Hey, I don't know if you noticed, but that new Star Wars trailer dropped.
He did. How you feel about it?
I don't know how to feel yet.
I have only two emotions in regards to this trailer. I had some serious, Rey Kylo feelings. I don't know if they just cut it like that, like he's reaching out to
Yeah,
her.
it looks like that.
I don't know if they cut it or if that was real, but I had serious feelings about that.
Okay.
And porgs. I know people have some strong feelings about porgs.
I'm just tired of hearing about them already.
But, you interrupt me a lot. Shut up and let me talk about porgs. Porgs are
the Ewoks
awesome.
of
They're the
this
Ewoks.
generation.
They're the Ewoks of this movie, but they are not the Jar Jar Binks of this movie.
Praise
I'm not
God.
feeling it.
Thank God.
I don't think they will be. Hopefully, and Justin has said this, I'm speaking for him now. Hopefully, this movie is so dark and just vilely wrenching that you need the porgs for the levity. And they're a little less Ewok-like in that they're not going to be stupid and mess up the movie. But that being said, if it weren't for Ewoks, I may not be a nerd, so I have to like porgs.
I
And I
said
do like porgs. They're adorable.
that I'll approve of porgs if the movie is so dark that they're afraid of people maiming themselves in the theater. So they need the levity of the porgs to bring it back up, to keep you on some sort of even keel. I'll say, okay, porgs are all right because they're saving lives in the theaters.
It's like saccharine sweet.
Listen, the more I watch The Force Awakens, we've had this conversation.
I need to make a face.
The more I watch The Force Awakens, the less I like it.
Still haven't seen it, so.
I fell asleep by that, unfortunately. I was very tired.
I don't blame you. So, listen, you saw A New Hope. You've seen it. So,
I liked it.
I have one. I just want one thing. I just want one thing. Well, two. I just want two things.
More words.
Fresh ideas, written well. Is that one thing or two things? Just well-written, fresh
It's
ideas.
two things because you can either have fresh ideas or you can have good writing.
Yeah.
Those two things
That's
are
what I
the
want.
two
I
things.
just want something new in my Star Wars,
Right.
and I want good writing. Just give me good writing. You have Mark Hamill as Luke
They're
Skywalker
saying
again.
he's nailing this. They're talking. I'm not making this up. They're saying Oscar. Of course, everybody would say that if you're producing a movie. But when was the first time you heard Oscar talk this early for a Star Wars movie? Never.
Never. No, I'm trying to
Exactly.
think.
They're
Musically.
saying Hamill's
Oh yeah. No.
performance is so good in this.
Oh God, you're giving me the chills. See, that's all I ask for. Give me.
Like Logan good?
Give me. Oh man, if it's as dark as Logan, you need porgs. Give me. We're gonna listen. This is just a precursor because we're gonna have a Star Wars conversation, obviously, and we're gonna have a big get together where we all go see it and then talk about it. Because there's no other franchise. You know, if it wasn't for Star Wars, we wouldn't be here as a store. Basically, that's really what it comes down to. Because it started pop culture the way we know it.
Wow. So I did not know this.
I'm trying to sum up here. Okay.
Sorry. I'm now talking about Star Wars. You mentioned Oscars and Star Wars. I have a list of Oscars.
Ben Burt.
The original Star Wars one. Best art direction, best set direction, best costume design, best sound, best film editing, best visual effects, best music.
Yeah.
Also, Ben Burt won a Special Achievement Award. It was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Best Director, and Best Writing. The original Star Wars.
Wow.
I had no idea.
I knew it won some Oscars. I didn't realize it was like
received.
that.
Like
I had-
dominating.
I had no idea that it was nominated for Best Picture, Best. I had no clue.
Technically, there was nothing ever like it.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, it
Yeah.
changed Hollywood technically.
Absolutely.
Too. Awesome.
Best soundtrack ever.
So, all right, we're gonna get ready to sign out. We're gonna try and do these a little more often. You know, it's been a while, but you know, life happens, and we're trying to run a store, and you know,
What? A store?
doing all kinds of stuff here. Halloween's coming up.
Oh, yeah. What's happening on Friday?
Friday, we are having our first ever Cupcake Friday.
Nice.
Oh, yay! You're putting it on me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We're going to watch Monster Squad, which is a movie that neither Justin nor I have ever seen, which is shocking to me because Night of the Creeps is one of my favorite movies of all time, and the same writer-director wrote and directed Monster
I've
Squad.
never seen it either.
So I'm shocked. What else we got going on? The 28th, we are also doing a nice Halloween event here in the store. We're doing a yard sale. We're going to have some free comics and just general spookiness here in the store. And on the 30th of October, we will be marching in the Maze Landing Halloween Parade.
Nice.
So you guys should come out and
That's
watch
going to be
us.
fun. Yeah, come out. We're going to throw candy at you.
Yeah.
It's going to be cool.
Well,
So,
to you, not maybe.
Well, maybe after.
on behalf of Joel and the Scully clan and Penelope and I, thank you, one person, for watching.
Oh, there's two. We had 6 at
We're
one.
going to post this on our page, so please comment. And, you know, we know we're long-winded. We don't mind. One or two of you.
Spoilers, we're long-winded.
When we're passionate about something, we like to talk about it. It's just the way it is. And we like to record ourselves talking.
Yeah.
So, see you at the movies.
Oh, boy.